Welcome to Carmen, California, where the majority of the population is surrounded by agriculture. One of the first things when driving into town is an almond orchard. Right next to it is a vineyard removal sign. So, what am I getting at? Well, let's start here. So, a lot of people already know that California is 13% agriculture. In 2011, planting almonds started to become a trend. There was a higher demand for almonds in the stores, and all around, people were just starting to make more money off of it. So farmers started ripping out what they were farming previously, and they started planting these trees instead. But what doesn't get talked about is the environmental impact that these trees now have. California is already known for being a drought state. Almonds require 1 gallon of water to produce 1 almond. UC Davis reports that almonds use about 10% of California's water intake. Even with modernized watering techniques such as drip irrigation, almonds are still using a lot of water. Not only that, during the harvest season, the pollen that comes off these trees is extremely hazardous for the environment. The air quality in the Central Valley of California is already extremely horrible. And when you combined bad air quality in a drought-ridden state, these are just issues we cannot ignore. Now, I mentioned that farmers planted something else prior to the almond trees. Well, this is what they were. Thompson seedless. Thompson seedless is known to produce what we call raisins. Raisins used to be the #1 produced product in the Central Valley. And now we're seeing a high rise in almond production. Raisins made their big debut in 1986 when raisin commercials started airing on national television.
California raisins from the California vineyards. Don't you know I heard it through the grapevine? Sounds great, doesn't it?
Before the big boom in raisin sales, a raisin marketing order had been put into place back in 1937. This raisin marketing order was created by the USDA, which was overseen by a committee called the RAC. Each year, the RAC, the Raisin Administrative Committee, determined what percentage was going to be set aside by the farmer. In 2002, the RAC had determined that the farmers needed to set aside 47% of the crop. Now, the farmers were supposed to be receiving just compensation based on this raisin marketing order, yet the farmers had yet to receive it, based on the needs and demands of the RAC. They were pretty much pocketing the profit. If farmers decided to not turn in 47% of their crop to the RAC, these farmers were to be fined. One man named Marvin Horn decided enough was enough. He wasn't going to set aside his raisins anymore. He decided to fight the USDA, stand against the RAC, and risk the fines.
I thought it was so simple. I didn't know the government didn't want me to do it. We bought our first farm somewhere around 68, 70. We did everything ourselves. We pruned and tied. We rolled and picked them up ourselves, our family, my son and my daughter. That's how we did it. The raisin industry is governed by a marketing order, and it's kind of a regulation of regulating the flow of raisins to the marketplace.
Ever since the 1940s, the Department of Agriculture has this program in which it tells raisin farmers how much of their crop they're entitled to sell into the market each year. Now, that's not that unusual, but what's unusual about this program is that the raisins that they're not permitted to sell, they actually have to give to the government. So the government takes title to them, uses them for things like school lunch programs or export stimulation programs, and doesn't have to pay them any money. And we're not talking about small numbers here.
One year they came up with they were going to take 47% of our crop and keep it. And we just said, we can't do that. You know, how can you run a business and give 47% of your crop to them when we need the money to operate our farm?
It's kind of like highway robbery, but they don't pull a pistol on you. They just, you deliver to the packer and you never see it again.
Now, the Constitution, the Fifth Amendment, Just Compensation Clause says, nor shall private property be taken for a public use without just compensation. Our argument is quite simple. They took the raisins, that's private property. They weren't given just compensation. That's unconstitutional.
We did all the hard work on the farm. We invested our money into it, believing in the American system, and they crashed it down. Then they came after us when we decided we were going to fight. And they used the full weight of the government. This is the raisins we produced. We put all the money into them. You're not going to have them. And we get up and we work and we work and we work and we get our crop in. And after we get our crop, you feel so good that you have your crop in. And then, like in our case, you take it in to sell it, and they take part of it from you. That was it just dashes you, breaks your mental attitude and everything. You give up. A lot of farmers just give up and walk away. We didn't. We chose to fight.
They've staked their whole livelihoods on bucking this case. They are American heroes.
It's been a long struggle. It wasn't a fair fight, but we still fought it, and we didn't fight dirty, and I think we're going to win.
So what does any of this have to do with almonds, you may ask? Well, the whole reason raisin farmers started ripping out their raisins in the first place was because they weren't making any profit. So, what did they decide to do? They decided to plant something that was more profitable. Now, I'm not trying to blame the almond farmer for trying to make ends meet. I'm just trying to make light of the situation. It takes a lot of water to establish an almond orchard. An already established grapevine doesn't require a lot of water. Grapes are considered drought resistant, so they can extend their roots all the way down to the water table, allowing the grape to water itself. The majority of these grapes that have been planted in the Central Valley have been established for almost 80 years, if not longer. So what happens when farmers decide to rip out all their grapevines? Here is a plot of land with a vineyard that has recently been removed. As you can see, it's extremely barren, dust has been kicked up, making the air quality poor. Just look at that. It's so sad seeing all these vines ripped out. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds for the almond industry and the raisin industry as a whole. Will modern-day farming techniques be able to solve the water crisis in California? Will farmers be able to continue to mass-produce almonds? Where will the raisin industry be in 7 years? We may not have the answers today, but Marvin Horn believed in the raisin industry. We lost him this year in 2020, but his family is still continuing his legacy by producing raisins in Kerman, California. You can find his raisins at raisinvalleyfarms.com. Thank you.